What's up, guys? I'm super excited today because we're going to cover cloud SaaS. This is a 12-minute snippet from an hour and 20-minute deep dive on cloud computing that we did on Patreon. It's part of our Let's Get Fired Up conference that we're doing in Q1 here of 2023. This video for YouTube today, it breaks down cloud computing in different segments. So when you think of public cloud services, cybersecurity, best of breed SaaS segments, open source, it's going to break those different areas within cloud computing down and provide you best of breed stock picks for each category and subcategory. I own a lot of the stocks that I covered in the video. I'm very bullish on cloud computing and semiconductors. Let's dig in. Okay, you're really gonna like these slides that I put together for you here. So I wanna cover, when I think of cloud and SaaS, I wanna cover the different segments and give you examples, okay? And explain what this stuff means. The public cloud is defined as computing services offered by third-party providers over the public internet, making them available to anyone who wants to use or purchase them. They may be free, which they're never free, but they may be free, or sold on demand, allowing customers to pay only per usage for the CPU cycles, storage, or bandwidth they consume. What that basically means is you might have your data. You might use Amazon Web Services to host all of your data, but then you might have a SaaS companies, different vendors that you also would be a customer of to provide different services and software in the cloud. And then Amazon Web Services or Azure or any of these other ones, they partner with those different providers and they provide all kinds of bolt-ons and analytics and add-ons and all kinds of, it's this whole universe, right? But when you think of public cloud services, this is the definition of public cloud services. So when I used that example earlier about the training company, we used AWS. We didn't go through like a SaaS provider. We weren't using, a SaaS company that was providing a SaaS software. We had our own tools and then we were just hosting that through Amazon Web Services. So a lot of people just host their data, instead of having their servers, their on-prem servers. That data could be hosted through AWS, but then you could use SaaS providers or even like a Snowflake, which isn't a SaaS provider, to do different things with that data. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So the leaders, again, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. And of course, this is why I own these three companies. Not the only reason, but the main reason that these are core holdings in my portfolio is because of cloud. Period. I mean, I like Microsoft's business outside of cloud, but I would not have that as my top holding in my portfolio if it wasn't for Microsoft Azure and my understanding of what that means for all the secular growth trends. We've talked about this in the last video. You think of artificial intelligence and just all the different mega trends. These type of companies fuel all that. Okay, so if you're really just going to buy three companies that can benefit the most when you think of the secular growth trend of cloud and those mega trends, it's really going to be these type of companies. Because with SaaS, you're trying to go deeper, a granular segment, and say, I think this specific segment is going to do well in this specific space. But the thing is all those different sectors are going to benefit from public cloud services. And here's the leaders and challengers. So you can see Amazon Web Services is the leader, top right, Microsoft, Google, and then you got kind of everybody else in there. And now Oracle has made some big strides in cloud. And with Oracle, they've got Oracle Cloud, like public cloud, but they also have Oracle Cloud Applications. And it can be a little bit confusing, but they're different things. All right, so I was talking about different segments, and one of those segments is cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is a segment. You think of the cloud universe and you think of software as a service. Most of these companies are software as a service, but cybersecurity doesn't have to mean software as a service. So it's important for you to understand that as well. Cisco systems, for example, can have hardware and different things that are on-prem, even software and tools that are on-prem. And that's a big universe. So not all cybersecurity has to be SaaS. In fact, Palo Alto Networks, about 50% of their business is SaaS. The other 50% is not software as a service. So it's important to note that. I want to mention Know-Before here as well, because that was training as a service. You think of cybersecurity training, the human element. Of course, now I've sold that because it's going private, and we made good profit on that one. But I think of like a Zscaler or CrowdStrike, and Cloudflare. Those are three, if I think SaaS cybersecurity. But you have to include other companies like Palo Alto and Fortinet. And there's a bunch of other ones. But I'm really focused, for me, I want that software as a service type model. So I own Zscaler, I own CrowdStrike, I own Cloudflare. I'd like to buy Palo Alto Networks. It's on my watch list, but I don't currently own Palo Alto Networks right now. So cybersecurity is the practice of defending computers, servers, mobile devices, electronic systems, networks, and data from malicious attacks. Seems simple enough, but there's lots of different types. Network security, cloud security, endpoint security, mobile security, Internet of Things security, application security, zero trust security. So then you have to look at this and say, okay, this is a subsegment of a subsegment subsegment of a subsegment. And I think endpoint security is going to be big. Boom, you got CrowdStrike. You look at Internet of Things security. You can think of like Cloudflare and Zscaler are both mobile security, more Zscaler. Application security. So Cloudflare and Zscaler are going to tie a lot of these together. Network security, cloud security, mobile security, a lot of those overlap, but they have lots of different products that do different things within these types of cybersecurity. So it can get very complicated even as you go granular within these segments, but I want to at least cover cybersecurity separately and give you some examples. And it's important to understand too, guys, that Microsoft plays in cybersecurity. So when I think of endpoint security, you got CrowdStrike, you got SentinelOne, you got Microsoft. There's a lot of different companies that do something like endpoint security. So it's hard to really have a true moat in the space, and it can be hard as an investor to know which stocks to pick or to know really if they're going to do well long-term or not. But another reason why Microsoft is the top holding in my portfolio. Microsoft Azure, Microsoft Security, Microsoft AI, you got gaming, you got Microsoft Office, you got this countless stuff with Microsoft. And I like these mega cap tech companies because they have their hands in so many different pots. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper. I think this will be helpful. So other SaaS segments. So these are all SaaS companies. Next, I'm going to talk about open source. Okay, so these are SaaS companies, and there might have some hybridness to some of these. Snowflake is not a SaaS company. It's consumption-based. But the rest of them are mostly going to be SaaS, software as a service focused. Okay. Some examples: DevOps, you got PagerDuty, and there's plenty of other ones. Monitoring, you got Datadog, right? Splunk, big data, Palantir, and that's going to be more SaaS. Snowflake is not really SaaS. It's more consumption-based, but it fits in the cloud universe. Customer relationship management, CRM, Salesforce, right? HCM or HR, you got Workday. That's kind of best of breed. ERP, so Oracle Enterprise Apps. So SAP would be an example, but like Oracle. So Oracle does public cloud services, but they also have apps that are consumable, software as a service applications that you can consume basically as an end user, right? So to manage your payroll, to manage your expenses. When I think of enterprise ERP software, it can also do HR and compete against Workday, and Oracle really has applications for everything. CRM, they've got HCM, analytics, they've got all those applications available on the cloud as a consumable software as a service model. For finance, you think of like Bill.com, Blackline, collaboration and project management, you think of Monday.com, you think of Team, and then note again, Snowflake is not SaaS, it's consumption based. Okay, open source. I think people get really confused by this. So when you think of like HCP and Confluent and GitLab, MongoDB, these are open source companies. Okay, so they're not like that true SaaS model built in the cloud for the cloud. So they're very different animals. Okay, very, very different animals. They're actually harder for me to put valuations on as well. And it's a fairly new phenomenon. And again, we don't have tons of data to know exactly how to look at these, and we don't have 30 years of data to know exactly how to analyze and how to put valuations on these. But let me explain what each of these are. So Confluent is building the foundational platform for data in motion, so any organization can innovate and win in a digital first world. So with open source, you basically have tools that you can use for free, but then they generally have services and bolt-ons and add-ons that you can pay for. And so it kind of gets you into the customer, and then you kind of build out this business, you build out this environment, this ecosystem, and then you start adding more services around it. It's a lot different model than software as a service, where it's just like, hey, we built this, it costs this much, buy it or don't. This is like, hey, here's open source source code that you can use, but if you want to use this part of it, well, it costs a little bit more. If you want us to do some customizations, our services team. So this is not going to be, when you think of software as a service, recurring revenue, they're going to have a cloud portion of their business with recurring revenue, but these are much more hybrid type businesses that are not like that software as a service recurring type model. And it's important to understand that. Okay, so HCP, and I'm not going to read this word for word. I could spend an hour on each of these companies, and I have videos on both of these stocks on YouTube. We also have the deep dive cloud that I did. That's a Patreon exclusive, and there's a link in the video below that you can check out. But when you look at this, it's about enabling collaboration, automation, IT, development, test, security, deployment, infrastructure configurations. The big thing to note here is that to support numerous types of cloud. So private, public, hybrid. They can really work with any type of business, whether they're all in the cloud or whether they're a hybrid type of a company and so on. And there's going to be consulting services tied to this. There's bolt-on applications tied on it. There's different ways they can make money. So MongoDB, this one, the easiest way to explain it, you think of Oracle, it used to be known for database, especially before cloud. And it was part of the reason the CEO was always pushing back on cloud, because we had on-prem databases and we had on-prem applications, and they still do those things at Oracle, but they've had to just adapt and kind of evolve into that cloud services world, because it's more and more common and more people are demanding it. But MongoDB, guys, it's open source and it's a database management program. So it would have competed with, or it still competes with, Oracle's old school on-prem database type solutions. It's an alternative to traditional relational databases. They're quite useful for working with large sets of data and distributed data. It's a tool that can manage document-oriented information, store, retrieve information. And this is a rabbit hole. You could spend 10 hours on just this company alone, but let's move on. So GitLab, also open source. So all four of these are kind of the main ones that I think of when I think of open source, but you can also think of like Red Hat, and they kind of revolutionized that model. You think of open source model, Red Hat was really the first that I can think of that did it really well. But GitLab is DevOps software, and it can develop, secure, and operate software. So why would you want to do open source versus traditional software as a service type model? Well, open source companies grow faster. And the reason for it is it's easier for people to adopt it. For user adoption, if it's free, you give them a good tool for free, well, more people are going to adopt it and use it. And then it's easier to kind of spread like wildfire. It's like a virus, right? It spreads like wildfire. So open source companies do grow faster than many cloud leaders when you think of traditional SaaS. And you can see they don't name the companies here. This is from Bessemer, but they've got A, B, and C, and you can see the growth versus Slack, Twilio, Shopify, Coupa, and so on. But it's going to allow them to, these businesses, to penetrate faster and to grow, and that user adoption is going to grow faster by using the open source model. With that said too, oftentimes these companies are created maybe without the intent that they're going to be big mega companies making a lot of money. They might have been created by somebody that was very passionate about a product, and then it kind of evolves more into a business model as more people get involved and they have to borrow money, and then they see the opportunity maybe as well. So it's a little bit different. Even culturally, these type of companies, they're going to be if you go talk to a salesperson at one of these companies, they're just slightly different than someone that's going to be from like a Datadog or a CrowdStrike. You know, and you think of the traditional sales model, this is going to be a completely different style and culture, in my opinion, just the way they approach things, the way they work with their customers. They're much more trusted advisors, and it allows them to kind of get their foot in the door and also kind of spread that network. Again, you can buy consulting services from them. You can buy, bolt-on modules that work. You can use their cloud-based services that do all of it for you, so you don't have to have developers doing all of it. There's different things they can do to monetize this, and it has proven to be very successful, and it's becoming more and more common. And if you want to see the full session of this video, it's an hour and 20 minutes. Check out patreon.com/firedupwealth. 15 videos over the course of Q1. There's already 6 videos available for you to watch, and there's going to be 9 more videos coming every single Friday. This Friday, we're going to do a deep dive on clean energy and EVs. You can see the list here on your screen of all the different topics we're covering. This is great content, very deep dive, masterclass style. Some of the videos also bring members from the community in. So the first half is a presentation like I did today, and then the second half is actually a podcast. So if you watch the full version of this cloud video, the second half is going to have a 30-40 minute podcast session with one of the members of our community who's a developer. So we're trying to give you different perspectives and really break down these different segments in the stock market overall to help you be a better investor. Check that out, guys. I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. If you'd like to see the 10 best stocks to buy now, visit fool.com/firedupwealth. If this video was helpful, make sure you subscribe, click the bell to get notifications, drop me a like and a comment. I appreciate your time and attention. Have a great rest of your day. Take care.